Lindsey Graham, he's probably having conversations with Mitch McConnell right now. And yeah, continue having those conversations. And I wish you the same fate that you wish on Palestinians.
Keep it 100, I be feeling like Campbell soup over white rice, baked chicken with the skin on, yeah, Lowry's with black pepper, I'm fully seasoned with laughter.
Former South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham passed away today at the age of 71. He just celebrated a birthday 2 days ago. He was born on July 9th. So his office released a statement today saying, on the evening of Saturday, July 11th, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham passed away from a brief sudden illness. Senator Graham's family appreciates the prayers at this time and asks for privacy during this incredibly difficult period. So I'm not going to sugarcoat anything about Lindsey Graham. I get that people say when people die, we have to, speak nicely. It's what's expected of in today's society for us to speak nicely about those who died, and especially those who just passed. But I'm not going to do that because Lindsey Graham was an absolute terrible person. The guy was a demon. He's part of the current demonic, pedophile, rapist, war criminal party, the Republican Party. And I'm going to tell you, this video is going to be spent telling you just how terrible he was. And I couldn't go through a really extensive record because I'm just finding this out right now, and I didn't have a lot of time to compile just how terrible he's been throughout his career. So just a few moments off the top of my head that I remembered quickly right before making this video. So Lindsey Graham, he's a typical Republican. So he supports war, loves Israel, hates minorities, black people, women, trans, poor people, immigrants, the typical Republican stuff. So we're going to go through a bit of Lindsey Graham's record, and you're going to see just why this man was so terrible. So Lindsey Graham was a massive warmonger. Lindsey Graham, he called for war with Russia and to kill Vladimir Putin. He called for shooting down Russian planes in Syria. He called for destroying North Korea, and no matter how many people died, it was worth it. In terms of Israel, he called for a ground invasion of Iran because of the war that the pedophile president started. He was a massive supporter of Israel to a point where a genocidal freak maniac, Benjamin Netanyahu, he said there's no greater friend to Israel than Lindsey Graham. He supported anti-BDS laws. And for those of you who don't know who BDS laws are, it stands for BDS. The BDS movement, it stands for Boycott, Divest, and Sanction. It was a movement against Israel to boycott Israel because of what they were doing, what they are doing, and what they were doing in Palestine, even prior to October 7th. The BDS movement began long before October 7th, and October 8th, I should say, because that's when Israel started the genocide. That's not when they started genocide, but that's when they started really increasing their genocidal efforts after the October 7th incident. But they were committing genocide well before that. I made plenty of videos talking about the Israeli genocide prior to October 7th, prior to 2023. Because Israel has been doing this for quite a long time. So, yeah, the movement stands for Boycott, Divest, and Sanction Israel. So, Lindsey Graham, he feels it's fine for Americans to be able to boycott their own country. We can boycott American-made goods. We can protest against American and anything that involves our country that we're currently in, but we can't do the same for Israel, which is insane. And he also called for Israel to completely level Gaza. What do you think that means? Racism. He's a Republican, so of course he was very racist. So during the 2020 Senate confirmation hearing, he referred to the good old days of segregation while discussing Brown versus the Board of Education. When he ran for president back in 2016 at a private event, he said, "White men who are in the male-only club are going to do great in my presidency." What does that even mean? White men in the male-only club. That just sounds very strange. It probably plays into, we'll get into that later, Lindsey being on the down low. That's exactly what it sounds like. Because what exactly does white men who are in the male only club, what does that even mean? But let's continue. He called Africa a shithole because that's, of course, a Republican talking point, and they're all extremely racist. He said systematic racism is not a major issue in this country. When talking about trans issues, he said that he supported laws restricting minors from undergoing gender affirming care. So he would rather trans youth to suffer from gender dysphoria instead of getting the trans care that they need in order to feel part of themselves. He would rather them suffer. He said men who identify as women shouldn't share a locker room with females. And here, that's stupid for many reasons. And here's one of the main reasons why it's stupid. So let's say there is a trans woman that looks very much female. So you want a trans woman to go share a bathroom with a male? You don't think that trans woman is going to be in danger? And how are you even going to enforce that in the first place? Are you going to say, oh, let me see what you got down there? Lindsey Graham probably would do something like that because he's a weirdo. So how do you even enforce that? And also, what if, there's some women out there who aren't trans women that may look more masculine presenting? You're going to say they have to go to the male's bathroom? Like, how do you even begin to enforce that? It makes no sense. And on the flip side, what if there is a trans male who looks very masculine? You want them in the female bathroom? You think females would feel comfortable with that? That entire logic is just absolutely stupid. But let's continue. When it comes to women, he voted against the Paycheck Fairness Act, and he even voted against having the bill debated because he doesn't want women to make the same amount as men for doing the same work. But that's who he is. That's who Republicans are. Poor people, of course, Republicans hate poor people. He voted against increasing the federal minimum wage to $10.10 an hour. So Lindsey Graham, a multi-millionaire, doesn't believe people should make a minimum of $10.10 an hour. It's not even something like the $15 minimum wage that Bernie Sanders proposed about a decade ago. A little over a decade ago at this point. Minimum wage workers shouldn't even make $10.10 an hour. Yes, according to Lindsey Graham. When talking about immigrants, he voted for the Laken-Riley Act. The Laken-Riley Act, it mandates immigrants to remain in detention without criminal conviction based on only arrest or charge. And those who are detained under this provision are eligible for bail and must remain in custody. So just blatantly violating the rights of immigrants if they're accused of anything or if they're charged with anything. They must remain in custody. And it also authorizes states to request sanctions against countries who refuse to accept the return of their deported citizens. So think about immigrants who came here as little kids. Some might have came here at 2-3 years old. I know quite a few of them in my school who came here at 2-3 years old, and one of my close friends didn't find out she wasn't born here until it's time to go to college. So he believed that we should deport them to countries that they know absolutely nothing about and have them figure it out, completely uproot and destroy their lives and put them in some random place that they've never been to before. For what reason? Because they're black and brown. Because he doesn't like black, brown people. So that's not surprising with someone like Lindsey Graham because he's an evil demon. And then let's talk about the LGBTQ, Lindsey Graham and the LGBTQ. So he, of course, opposed same-sex marriage because he's a Republican. That's what Republicans do because they're secretly, all I'm going to say about that is whenever there's a Republican convention, Grindr just always happens to crash. is not a coincidence. He voted for the Defense of Marriage Act in 1996 and for a constitutional amendment to ban same-sex marriage in 2006. And he also voted against the Respect for Marriage Act in 2022, which protects same-sex marriage and interracial marriage. And there's a bunch of rumors, of course, that Lindsey Graham is, or I should say, was gay. And he actually responded to some of these rumors. In 2010, in an interview with the New York Times, he said, "I know it's going to get a lot of gay men really upset. I'm sure hundreds of them are going to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, but I ain't available. I ain't gay. Sorry." That is about the gayest statement I've heard, at least in the last 24 hours. So, you as a straight man, supposedly, you as a, when he is alive as a straight man, saying that, I know gay men are going to be upset that I'm not gay, I'm straight, I'm not available. No straight man has ever thought those thoughts. Like, I know gay men are so sad and depressed that they will kill myself down. I'm not gay, I'm not available. No straight man has ever thought that before. That's how you know his man was on the DL. I keep saying is. He's gone now, thankfully. Was on the DL. Absolutely insane. And Lindsey Graham, one of his final, not his final act, but one of his final acts about 3 months ago or so, he went to Disney World being the little fairy princess that he always wanted to be during the government shutdown while TSA workers were not getting paid. And he is photographed wearing holding a pink bubble wand. So he's being a fairy princess. What do you call those? I think it's called like twinks or something. Because I know like Nick Fuentes, he said he's something like that, like a twink. I don't know exactly what that is, that whole terminology, but it fits what Lindsey Graham was, I believe.
Honor MC Grow, I percent $10. I miss your femboy era.
What's the femboy? I was never a femboy. It was the catboy era, okay? Not femboy. Let's get it straight. It was the catboy era. I miss it too. They bullied me out of it, It was funny. And Vosh made up a bunch of nonsense about it.
Package. How does a Sunday mass
and
date
then
sound?
I had to capitulate for the sake of optics and say, no. We want to be trad and get married, and women are awesome. So, yeah, it was awesome, wasn't it? And here's the thing about that.
So this evil demonic man is gone. The world has gone quite a bit better. And one of my good friends, he said that good news comes in, he hopes good news comes in threes. And I also hope good news comes in threes, because hopefully Donald Trump is next, or maybe Benjamin Netanyahu. So we're praying for the best of news for them. And actually we need the good news to come in more than threes, maybe 4, 5, 6, because Benjamin Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, Donald Trump, they all need to go, and a bunch of other people who are evil, demonic people destroying the world, they all need to go. So Lindsey Graham, he's probably having conversations with Mitch McConnell right now. And yeah, continue having those conversations, and I wish you the same fate that you wish on Palestinians. Peace.
Well, I've been stacking up. Nah, really, that ain't accurate, cause I just spent my whole damn advance in the past couple months just to compensate for times we ain't have enough. Ooh.